The 152mm gun-howitzer M1955, also known as the D-20, is a manually loaded towed 152mm artillery piece, manufactured in the Soviet Union during the 1950s. It was first observed by the West in 1955, at which time it was designated the M1955. Its GRAU index is 52P546. History: 152mm has been a Russian caliber since World War I, when Britain supplied 6-inch howitzers and Russia purchased 152mm guns from Schneider for the Imperial Army. The new gun-howitzer was a replacement of the pre-war ML-20 gun-howitzer and various World War II-era 152mm field howitzers, Mottl 09-30, Model 1910 30th, Model 1938 M10 and Model 1943 D-1. By Soviet definition, a 152mm howitzer is medium caliber artillery. It was designated a gun howitzer because its muzzle velocity exceeded 600 meters per second, and its barrel length exceeded 30 calibers. It equipped battalions in the Motor Rifle Division Artillery Regiment and Army-level artillery brigades. The design, which was probably initiated in the late 1940s, was first seen in public in 1955. It was designed by the well-established design bureau at Artillery Plant No. 9 in Sverdlovsk, led by the eminent artillery designer Fedor Fedorovich Petrov, who was responsible for several World War II pieces. The gun's factory designation was D-20. The carriage is the same as that used for the D-74 122mm field gun. The barrel assembly was the basis for the D-22, which was used for the self-propelled 2S3 Akatsiya. Description: the D-20 has a 34 caliber barrel, with a double baffle muzzle brake and a semi-automatic vertical sliding block breech, with a tied jaw and the block moving down to open. The barrel is mounted in a long ring cradle with the trunnions just forward of the breech. The recoil system is mounted on the cradle above the barrel. Compression balancing gear is attached behind the saddle support, passing through the complex-shaped saddle to connect to the cradle just forward of the trunnions. This can be manually repressured by a pump below the breech. The breech has a projectile-retaining catch to prevent the shell sliding out at higher elevations before it is rammed with a manual rammer. Top traverse totals 58 degrees and the vertical elevation range is -5 degrees to 45 degrees. Box girder section split trail legs are hinged to the cradle support, with bolts to lock them into either the open or closed position. The cradle support also has a bolt for locking the barrel in the center for traverse before towing the gun. Large spades are permanently fixed close to the end of each trail. These are hinged and it appears that the gun can be fired with them up or down, depending on the terrain, but they are always up when the gun is towed. To assist with all-round carriage traverse, there is a pivot jack mounted at the front of the cradle support. The pivot jack is not of sole plate and the gun fires with its foam-filled rubber-tired wheels supporting the gun on the ground. When the gun is brought into action, the pivot jack is folded down and adjusted to be on the ground. If a large traverse is required, small jacks on each trail leg are rotated downwards, and the trails jacked up until the main wheels are lifted clear of the ground and the bogie wheels mounted on each trail leg swung downwards and the trail jacks raised. The carriage is then traversed, and the trail jacks reused to lift the bogie wheels and then place the piece back on its main wheels. The pivot jack is also used to secure the barrel against vertical vertical movement when the gun is being towed. The barrel is locked in the center for traverse with a bolt on the cradle support. The jack is folded upwards. Lugs on the ring cradle engage the jack base and two tensioners fixed to the saddle support are hooked to the cradle. These are tightened to lock the cradle onto the jack base. As was normal for the period, the gun has a shield, including a folding piece below the cradle support. The center section of the upper shield slides both up and down and folds to accommodate the barrel at higher elevation angles of fire. The shield may offer some protection against muzzle blast to the sights and layer, although it is usually shown being fired with a long lanyard, but is probably mostly for defense against machine gun fire. The non-reciprocating sights, a standard Soviet pattern designed for one-man laying, included are a direct-fire anti-tank telescope, a panoramic periscopic indirect-fire sight, a dial sight in a mounting, an angle of sight scale, and a range drum for each charge engraved with the range scale, coupled to an elevation-loving bubble mounted on dial sight mount. The range drum enables the standard Soviet technique of semi-direct fire when the piece is laid visually on the target and the range set on the range drum. Like most Soviet artillery, the gun fires separate ammunition using metal cartridge cases that also provide obturation. The ammunition is interchangeable with that used with other 152mm guns, although the more modern ones also have a third, much larger cartridge. The D-20 uses two types of cartridge. One has a base charge and up to 5 increments, the other is a single supercharge cartridge. The standard shell weight is 44 kilograms with a muzzle velocity of 655 meters per second, but some projectiles are more or less than this. The basic shell is heat fragmentation. Other projectiles include smoke, illuminating, chemical and probably incendiary. Later projectiles include bomblet, anti-personnel mine, flechette, Mottl precision munition, communications jammer, and extended range heat using rocket assistance. The normally maximum range is 17.4 kilometers, RAP being greater. Two direct-fire anti-tank projectiles have been used, heat and APHE, the latter being 5.2 kilograms heavier and with a lower muzzle velocity. The maximum rate of fire is usually stated as 5 rounds per minute, and 65 rounds per hour sustained. In Soviet service, the unit of fire was 60 rounds. The detachment was either 8 or 10 men, probably differing between armies and the time period. In Soviet service, the 5,700 kilograms gun was usually towed by a Ural 375 6x6 truck or in some regions, an at S or at L medium tractor. Variants. Russian Federation. The Kitan is an improved version with an automatic rammer for an increased firing rate of 7 to 8 RDs per minute. People's Republic of China Type 66. This is the licensed version of the D-20. The improved version is known as the Type 66-1. Type 83 self-propelled version of the Type 66, very similar in layout to the 2S3. Romania A411. This artillery system was designed by Arsenal Armate and is very similar to the D-20. It has, however, a different 152mm ordnance, 20.5 calibers long, with a range of 17.2 kilometers. In Romanian Army service, the A411 is known as the 152mm towed gun-howitzer M1955. A412 license-built Chinese Type 59-1 with a D-20 carriage. In Romanian Army service, the A412 is known as the 130mm towed gun M1982. A425, another variant that uses the D-20 carriage. Designed in Romania using Chinese technology, and with similar performance to the two A65M SDAB, the A425 has a maximum range of 22 to 24 kilometers. In Romanian Army service, it is known as the 152mm towed gun-howitzer M1955. The system is offered for export as the Mottl 1984, former Yugoslavia M84 Nora Air Nora. While this variant retains the original carriage, it has the L25 barrel replaced by an L39.7 barrel. The M84 can fire the complete range of D-20 ammunition, including the of 540 frag to a range of 17,190 meters. Using standard He shells, the maximum range is 24,160 meters. The illumination round is called the M88. The M84B1 and M84B2 are lighter versions that can fire the Russian projectiles with Yugoslav propellant charges. The M84B2 version is fitted with a pneumatic loader, which is operational at all gun elevations. With the M84GG base bleed projectile, the M84B1 and M84B2 have a maximum range of 27.0 kilometers. Usually, the FAT 2026 BS AV6x6 truck is used as a tractor for the Nora series. M96 Nora B Yugo import SDPR has designed self-propelled versions of the M46, 84 and M84 artillery systems. Democratic People's Republic of Korea. The U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency has reported the existence of a number of self-propelled artillery systems, mating existing cannon systems with a locally designed chassis. The SPH 152mm M1974 appears to be the D-20 Type 66 mounted on a tracked chassis. Tokshon. Ammunition. Frag of 32 range 18,400 meters. DPICM. DPICM-BB. Incendiary. Expendable jammer. Chemical. Flechette. Semi-active laser-guided Krasnopol. Wars. Syrian Civil War. 2003 Invasion of Iraq. Yugoslav Wars. Iran-Iraq War. Gulf War. Soviet War in Afghanistan. Sino-Vietnamese War. Yom Kippur War. Vietnam War. Lebanese Civil War. Sino-Soviet border conflict. Six-Day War. Indo-Pakistani War of 1965. Sino-Indian War. Elam War 4. Operators. Current operators: Angola, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Bulgaria, Croatia. 18 M84 Nora kept operational for the reserve forces. Georgia, People's Republic of China, Type 66, Cambodia, Congo, Egypt, Hungary, Iran, Iraq. All were destroyed in the 2003 invasion. New models bought from Bulgaria in 2015. Kazakhstan, Lebanon, Myanmar. 35 delivered in 2009 from DPRK. North Korea, Moldova, Nicaragua, Nigeria. 4 M81, M85 from Romanian Army stocks. Romania. The Romanian Army has 329 M81 howitzers and 111 M85 gun howitzers. Russia, Serbia. M84 Nora A. Singapore, Sri Lanka, Type 66, Syria, Turkmenistan, Turkey, Ukraine, Uzbekistan, Vietnam, Yemen. Former operators: Albania, Type 66, phased out. East Germany passed on to Germany after the German unification. Germany, phased out. Finland, ex-East German, known as 152H55, now phased out. Soviet Union, passed on to successor states. Yugoslavia, M84 Nora A, passed on to successor states.